Hey guys, it's Matt. I apologize to the old guard. I've got to go over some of the basics. You've heard this many times, but some of the comments, I mean, some people are just completely lost. There's not a whole lot of new people that come here, but there's some. And we haven't done a complete return to basics video for maybe 2 months. Once every 3 or 4 months, I would do that thing. I would prepare a two-page, half-page reality, and I would read it. But we just need to return to some basics. Things like, this is a closed system. There's no doubt about that. No Captain Kirk is gonna get into no spaceship and travel anywhere. You just have to laugh at it. The scientists themselves are the most fooled part of this entire reality. They're just collecting in the evidence that the reality gives them. And they're collecting it properly, but they're collecting up a trick. They're collecting all the different aspects of the trick. Of course, we know this at this point. It's so funny. Imagine if the scientists at the university research parks saw this presentation. They just would have no clue, no idea. So we'll do some stuff like that, guys. I watched a little bit. The Eagles played the Chargers last night. I'm going to work a few of these things in it so I can keep some of the old guard here with me. It was in Los Angeles because now the San Diego Chargers are back to Los Angeles Chargers. Okay. And then the Oakland Raiders are now out in Las Vegas. Okay. So the Eagles, I mean, the fan base is just it's so out of control per the definition of fanatic fans. There were more Eagles fans in the Los Angeles stadium than Chargers fans. And the Chargers in Los Angeles, I'm going to get to the reality basics. Just 1 minute, guys. The Chargers are not as popular as the Los Angeles Rams. So the stadium, there's more open tickets. But these people, I mean, they put their entire lives, and I didn't stay up for the whole game. I looked and saw that they lost like 3 or 4 in a row now, the Eagles. They put their entire lives. There were all sorts of chartered flights. They weren't just Eagles fans living in Los Angeles. They flew chartered flights to be with their team out in Los Angeles. There were more Eagles fans than Chargers fans. They pay a seat license fee. I don't know what to just they pay $3,000-4,000 or something just for the privilege of buying Philadelphia Eagles tickets. It's unbelievable. It is at least in this city, Philadelphia, how the NFL is just consumed the entire city. Just 30 more seconds, guys. I'm sorry. Like every single business tries to affiliate themselves with the Philadelphia official bank, the Philadelphia Eagles. How much more am I paying for that? The official bread or the official snack or some kind of chips or pretzels will have a logo. It's anyway, guys. So I didn't, of course, stay. I stayed up till about 11. What people get on me, the righteous truther, for watching, the Philadelphia Eagles. What else am I going to do? Am I supposed to take my net jets to Paris or something? What am I supposed to do? It's just me and Zara here. I build some stoves. I mean, what am I supposed to build stoves out in the dark and in 18 degrees? It's cold here. It's about 15 or 16 degrees this morning, I believe. Anyway, guys. So, look, one of the main things when we discuss the reality basics is there's obviously something here that's trying to distract us. And that is one of the most interesting things to talk about. There are different interpretations, and people believe different things as to, okay, what this thing is. We're not going to talk about that much. It's not milk. It's a frequency. It's a vibration. It's not a secret society or any specific group. That's the false breadcrumbs it gives to the first grade truther. But there's something here organized to distract us, the real spiritual being. And the first grade through fifth grade truther will say that the reality's been hijacked and it was not intended to be, and it wasn't supposed to be like this. And to me, that is just ridiculous. It's exactly as it's intended to be for us to have this experience or to overcome it or whatever your belief is. And before we start, guys, let me just say, I'm not arrogant enough to come out and say these are all my ideas. You know what I'll say? About 50-50 at this point. 50% might have been my ideas, even though in other videos I say there's no original thoughts. I'm joking. There's there's 1 or 2 original thoughts a year, but 50% came from you guys, and not just Tony. There's certain people like Greg or Tony I talk about more than others, or maybe it's like 98 too. But okay, maybe because more, he sent me more things and more things resonated with me. But overall, hundreds of you guys have influenced me in terms of what my understanding of this reality is. Hundreds of the smartest people who have ever lived have come and gone from this channel and have influenced me or left me certain tidbits or if my certain theory on something was a little vague or all over the place, helped me straighten it out or clean it up or put it in a way where I can describe it to you. That is one of the things I bring to the table. I can put something in usually or describe something in a way that most people can understand. So just back to the reality basics. The reality is a false reality, of course. It's not very real. It customizes its trick for each segment or each group of people that participate in it or participate in its trick. So the easiest one to see, of course, is the scientists and those that look under microscopes, and actually lesser so that, of course, when you get down to the very small, the quantum, all of reality breaks down. When you get to the very large, the macro, what is the universe if it's expanding, what's it's expanding into, it all breaks down into a giant reality breakdown. And the scientists, kind of look the other way and try to make everything seem real, try to get everything to fit inside the reality bookends. But like we've talked about, all they're doing in terms of all their experiments, whether it be telescopes or looking at the stars or what they believe a formation of a nebula is, it's all simply collecting up aspects of the trick. There ain't if you could get in your spaceship, and which nobody will ever be able to do, and fly out there ain't no nebula forming hundreds of billions of light years away. That's just the trick, scientists. And we are the truth researchers, the conspiracy truth researchers. In the same way, we have been fooled. Okay, we thought 10, 12, 15 years ago, we are superior because, okay, this presentation of an election is false. Or this over here, what certain government agencies is up to is false, and we can see through it, and we're superior. But we were really engaging in an aspect of the trick that was customized for us. It's that simple. If you are a truth researcher at this point, we know enough at this point, you've heard enough, even if it's not your thing, where if you are focused on your specific theory or your specific conspiracy, fine, whatever that may be. I always throw out Tartaria. If you are focused on that, fine, but you also better be talking about reality itself, reality as a whole, and what it is trying to do to you and to us through its conspiracy, through its yellow breadcrumbs, which I think is Tartaria, and thousands of others of those things that appear on the conspiracy map. Those conspiracy posters and maps, thousands of things, all of which, if you dive into any of them, there will be almost an endless amount of things to research, an endless amount of things to dive into. My favorite example, you've heard this a million times, is nobody went out, and it is a really rudimentary example, but nobody went out to the library to research conspiracy blank, plug in one of 1,000 things, and came home and said, I couldn't find anything. Well, there's always more to find. No real world could do that. Sorry, old guard. You've heard this a million times. This stuff is new to some people here. I don't get too many new people. I need to reiterate certain things. There's no conspiracy you're going to go out to, this seems interesting, and there's nothing there. There's always something it will lure you in with, a carrot it will dangle. That's impossible in a real world. So this place isn't very real. It's a closed system. And, it's not even worth talking about anymore. That who we are, in terms of spiritual beings existing before birth, after death. This is, we can argue about whether what we're going through now we signed up for. I know that triggers some people, but there's no question that what we are here is not anywhere near what we really are. And one of the main aspects of the trick here, and it does it through materialism and the physical nature of it, is to get you to believe that what I'm looking at myself now through the little box and the emerald green light, that this is all I am. Matt in the body, Matt as the straw man, all name, first name caps, last name caps. It works overtime. That's its role here. that it didn't hijack anybody's reality. It was put here, and it's minions and it's creeps and it's Melvin Pease and Bezos, and it was put here, and a whole organized aspect of creeps and different aspects of the org chart, and you go secret societies, whatever, whoever your bad guy is of choice, was put here to have you distracted, but that's its customized distraction for our type of person, for the conspiracy or truth researcher that says there's something really wrong with this place. And that's more perceptive than your cousin or your Aunt Ginny or the guy down the street that thinks everything's completely normal. It's just the headlines. I did look for, I went to check on Duluth and Dubuque today. And again, no, it's amazing. Now going on 4 weeks, I believe. No Eppenstein or Steiner file. No headlines at all on that anymore. They'll bring it back. Matt, are they done with it? Oh, no. They'll bring it back with gusto. The AI and the Whopper computer, they know exactly when a headline's getting a little stale, and they need to pull it away even from the dumbest of the dumb, and then they'll bring it back again with new vigor, dusting it off like it's brand new and rolling it out like they've never talked about it before. So now it's Trump in Venezuela. I guess that clown stooge, not milk stooge, Maduro, something like that. And before that it was Chavez. Venezuela, there's something, of course the not milk ruined it on purpose, of course, guys. But I hear people talk about Venezuela, say before Chavez, you got to go back now 35, 40 some years, that it was like paradise. It's maybe you have to, I don't know exactly, maybe you have to go back 50 years, but it has everything. The beauty, the climate, it has everything. It has resources and soils to grow crops. It is maybe if anybody, I hear, we think alike, guys. I hear many of you screaming at me, Matt, that's why not milk is ruining it. So eventually they will take that paradise for themselves. Yeah, it's likely or possible. Sure. But I mean, if I were to say to Aunt Ginny or your cousins or your friends or the guy down the street that there's this thing called not milk that's destroying Venezuela on purpose. And it's whether, and one thing that we debate a lot, guys, is, and this is, we can be 50-50 on this in our group here. The dictator puppets, Chavez, Maduro, who else was in there that helped, old dictators of the past? Was it Argentina? Was it Pinochet? All these clowns. Do they, are they planted in there? Do they know their role? Do they know the pecking order or the org chart? And to me, my take on this, and we'll never be in unison on this, is how we interpret this aspect of reality. My take is the useful idiots like Chavez and Maduro now they believe in every bit of who they are, just like Obama and Obama's presidency. They believe in every bit of who they are, that they're the real leader. They don't. If say Maduro, Edmund, what's his name? I don't know. That's Edmund Dantes. That's from. What is that from? That's from the Count of Monte Cristo. Great. The newer movie, the newer version is an excellent movie. Edmund Maduro. Could you tell me the exact role you're playing for Not Milk, sir? Get this. He would have no idea what we're talking about. He's on the download, on the frequency, as that type of dictator is. Assad in Syria, for example. I think they really are playing out their lives, believing their lives are their own. I know many people don't believe that here, and we can debate that some other time. Many people, no, Matt, they're plants. They know what's above them on the org chart. Maybe, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think they believe in their role, even though they're doing every bit of what this thing called Not Milk would want, and they just follow out or carry out the actions, no matter where it is in the world and what dictator gets into what role, carry out via radio station and a frequency and a download. So that brings us to, I started this, but it wasn't. It went into a strange place, and I just cut the last minute off. It brings us to back to the who's in on it conversation, and I think the 1st through 5th grade truther believes that everybody's in on it. Everybody's getting some sort of secret orders, and I can just tell you, the more you do this, the longer you look at reality and study it. And for me, doing this hardcore reality truth research is going on 16 or 17 years, even a few years before the start of the Texas Shrug channel. My take, and I'll probably never, I don't think I'll ever come off this, is very, 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 very few, almost nobody is in on it. They are, per a radio station or frequency, carrying out the wishes of what this thing, Not Milk, wants. And there is no boss level here. There is no final bad guy to point to. And even some of the old guard would want to fight me on that. They believe there is the final level of bad guys in a back room or secret societies. And I just think at this point that is ridiculous. There's just too many thousands of things being pulled off, almost going to say every decade, but basically every year. I mean, almost most news items are mostly false, unless it's the weather or a sports score. And even with the truthers latching on to how fake sports are now, you knew that's got to be fake too, right? It's all fake. Well, no a group of men and women, of course, you know what I'm going to say, can keep pulling this off. I have no idea why so many truth researchers latch on to that. That all of this, remember the conspiracy map and the thousands of things on the poster, it could all be pulled off somehow by men and women. This is bizarre to me, but I keep running into this, even with more experienced or more seasoned truth researchers. 5 or 10 things on the conspiracy map, and there's 1,000 other things. It's all they did for 50 years, concentrate on those 5 or 10 things. They might be able to pull that off, and there would still be major problems and really more blatant and obvious inconsistencies. But it's not 5 or 10 things; it's close to 1,000 things. So even, how can you? A truth researcher may have kind of agreed or shook their head as to what I was saying earlier about this is a closed system. No Captain Kirk will ever be able to fly out anywhere. If that's the case, any group of scientists at any university research park, or those associated with NASA, the first grade truther thinks they're all in on it. No, they're carrying out scientific experiments, believing in every bit of what they're doing. They're not in on it. And then all you can throw out, all the first grade truther can throw out, is compartmentalization. Stop trying to make everything work. Stop trying to make everything make sense. It's not going to make sense here. There is no, if you look for a final explanation to try to figure it out as to how it's all happening, you've lost, because that's what it wants you spending your time on. That's part of the distraction. Compartmentalization, man. Predictive programming. Where do you think all these terms came from? Not milk given to us. Who's the first truth researcher that came up with predictive programming? Well, I came up with mistakes on purpose. That wasn't, Matt, that was given to you by Not Milk. No, that was mine. No, but you know what I'm saying. Compartmentalization. That's all. They have to just always fall back into an explanation that makes sense and fits in between their little bookends. This place doesn't make sense. Stop trying to make it make sense. The only thing you can try to make sense is what your role here is inside of it. Part 2, the work. Part 3, the end, but back mostly, more importantly, part 2, the work, what we do every day, what we do every hour of every day. So just stop trying to figure it out. There's no final boss level here, or if you go up the org chart, it's just the rainbow. There's truth drops everywhere. Go try to find the end from afar. The end of the rainbow is right there. It's coming down on Bridgeport, Pennsylvania. All right, we can go find it. Well, you get to Bridgeport, Pennsylvania, there ain't nothing there. It's the same with the bad guy here. But it's incredible to me how many people that have been here for years, more advanced truth researchers, who always fall back that there is a bad guy or secret societies. And I repeat myself a lot. I say it a lot, but I wouldn't say it a lot if this just didn't keep coming to me via comments. And so the scientists, hi Zara, the scientists, they're not in on it. They're simply using the latest technology and lab equipment, whatever it may be, to research this reality, to get to the bottom of what they believe they can get to the bottom of. And again, all they're doing is engaging in the trick. And truth researchers, and we've all done it, that we want to research this aspect, or what is all that I almost said symbology. The whole truth research community is like somehow in a frequency to say symbology for some reason. That means the study of symbols, the symbolism. They've forgotten the word symbolism. Everybody, symbology. It's bizarre. On the back of the dollar bill, what does all that mean to them? Why do they cover the one eye? And all? It's all part. It's just a trick that's customized for you. All the conspiracy. It's a reality generation machine that's false, and it's a conspiracy generation machine, right, sweetie girl? That's false. It's all false. So your little aspect isn't going to be real. Everything over here is false. So I agree with you, Matt. All this is false. But what I'm interested in is real. It's ridiculous. It's all false. Remember Norm, the bathtub rebel. Matt, what part of it is a trick? All of it. Of course. We know no real world could pull all this off. And it's incredible to me. There is compartmental. We call then what's the sequential incarnation all about, Matt? Okay, what's the sequential incarnation? Are you going to stay here? Going to stay here all day? What's the sequential incarnation? Come on down now. What's the sequential incarnation all about? Okay, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I don't think I said nobody has any idea what's going on, right? Saying Maduro and all these puppets inserted, and even the Fed chairman. I mean, inside their little bucket, they know it's false. My Rush Limbaugh example, okay, 30 seconds or less. He knew that they probably decided long ago that Obama would be president. Rush Limbaugh knew that inside his bucket, he knows it's false. But does Rush Limbaugh, or does he know how reality works? That this game is designed to distract a real spiritual being? Of course, he has no clue. None of them do. Inside their little bucket, they understand that it's false, but they don't understand at the highest level, how reality works. But that's 99%. All the puppets you see on TV. So the Fed chairman. I mean, who I don't even know who that is. I remember. I was going to say Boris Yeltsin, Janet Yellen, Boris Yeltsin. What's the difference? People sending me these videos, people playing the same role. Maybe Boris Yeltsin Janet Yeltsin was Boris Yeltsin, that playing the roles. People, that's just. Let's talk about that some other time. It's funny. It's fun to look at that stuff. The Fed chairman understands that there is. That it's all one world system. All the central banks are tied together. And money is just trillions and trillions, even off books, is thrown around everywhere. And how false it all is. And it's 100% based on a belief that this dollar will buy me some food. I mean, of course, they understand the fraud and but they'll believe in every bit of the role, how necessary the fraud is to keep this system going. So food and resources move around, the money multiplier, so societies can operate and people can live out their lives. And if it all broke down, it would become like the worst scenes in the movie The Road. They understand their bucket, okay, but they have no idea how reality itself works. That's the 99 point whatever percent. I do believe, like what Tony described, the sequential incarnation, there are, and maybe it's a lot smaller group than we think, a different type of spiritual being or entity here that has an idea of what its role is. But as time goes on, I believe the amount that qualifies as what Tony called a sequential, that understands its role, may understand a bit about its past lives, understand a bit about its relation. Tony always stressed the relationship with its higher self is different than yours, where, of course, we're completely cut off. Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, have no idea what we're doing here, have no idea how we got here. We're getting a notion of that, but most spiritual beings, of course, we're just the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Most are completely fooled. Of course, they're on the not-milk ship of fools. So I do believe what Tony said. There are some here that generally understand their role. But that doesn't mean that again, that's the very top of the org chart where they're sitting on a throne and decide everything. Even those are role players because they were, in my opinion, put into this reality to play the role. And of course, what is the main role? It's distraction. And I go back and forth on this and a few different interpretations as to why the whole reality is set up for distraction. A few are a little disturbing. But again, once you realize the timeless nature of ourselves, that there ain't no atheism, There ain't no we go on after this experience, whether you believe it's another lifetime or we existed before birth. It takes 98% of the fear, goes away. Okay, 99% or more of what the dark reality does, or its reason for being, or its purpose regarding getting up in our business and getting in front of the real spiritual being, is a combination of distraction and getting the real spiritual being to believe it's something that it's not. This is 99 point whatever percent of everything it does can be boiled down to one sentence: to distract from what we're supposed to be doing and to get you to believe that you're something that you're not. It is one sentence. Almost everything it does, tens of millions of aspects of its trick over thousands of years, all boil down to this one sentence. So we've talked many times about, why is this thing here out to trick us? And we get into the no consequences people versus consequence, and there's consequences spiritually if we're tricked. But there's something, we'll address all that, because again, if this is 99% of what it does, we better stay focused here. But one thing we really haven't talked about much, and a lot of very smart people, believe this or keep this on the table. And it is disturbing, and some of you may even be triggered by it, but it has to be discussed, that where we came from is rather boring or potentially rather terrible. I have to keep it on the table, guys. Sorry. Or like a brain in a jar. I mean, who knows? Or what we just think, what we were spiritually was so. We have to discuss this, guys. I'm sorry. Don't get triggered. This is what we need to do to be big thinkers here and explore all aspects. Where we were, Matt, was so beautiful. And if you could describe it in terms of physical terms, it's not very physical, but they're rolling hills and beautiful relationships. How you know? How you know what it was? Maybe it sucked. It sucked moose. A brain in a jar. Who knows? It was so bored. It was so. Then you get into the aspect of it split itself into trillions of pieces, and we're the individual component of God splitting itself into a trillion pieces. Oh, we talked about that. Okay, well, maybe we'll deal with that some other time. But it's like, brain in a jar. Just let's go with this. I can't take it no more. I'm just a brain in a jar. Or some spiritual being floating around and all knowing, and this sucks, man. You go in. You got to when this happens, it's like the Pon farr that the Klingons, not the Klingons. Well, is it the Klingons or the Vulcans have to go through? I think the Vulcans every so many years they have to go through this transition period. Maybe we have a Pon farr spiritually where it's like you've got to go back into this thing called Earth for one lifetime. No, about 500, and you've got to get it out of your system. You've got to experience all the trauma and all the bullshit and the news and go into Wikipedia and say $2, trying to get e-beg in your face. And it's still doing it. We apologize. If I go to Wikipedia right now, it's still apologizing in front of me trying to get $2. Maybe you got to go into this thing called Earth. Pull Bill's poster out sometime. Big top Earth. You got to go in there, man, and get it out of your system. Because you're just you don't appreciate maybe this is a little boring or whatever, but you're not appreciating anymore. And why is it here to whatever created this reality and created the distraction and how crafty and adept it is at delivering its distraction? We likely created it, or I'm sorry, I don't mean to trigger anybody. Your God created it, or whatever. But it wasn't. We agree, it wasn't hijacked. This to me is it. What's happening here is exactly as it's supposed to be, folks. I'm sorry, people don't like to hear that. I'll never prove it. I'll never be completely be able to prove it or express it. But I'm 100% convinced of this. What is happening is playing out as it's supposed to happen. Now, within certain parameters, maybe it's taken too big of a bite, and it's even extended beyond its contractual obligations as not milk asshole ass cracker. It's going ass crackers, Bill's ass cracker series. I'll show you some more of those posters. It's gone too far, maybe, but it wasn't. It didn't hijack the reality. That is ridiculous, guys. I'm sorry. It was just supposed to be palm trees and lubes. Burl Ives sings silver and gold, palm trees and lube. Come on, man. This is exactly what it's supposed to be. And oh man, I'm triggered when they say we agreed to come here. I would have never. Oh, here we go again. I would have never agreed to sign up for this trauma. How do you know? How do you know? It's part of the deal. What you were before here, how trillion years bored you were. Who knows? How do you know you didn't sign up here? That's so. I'm not saying I know that for a fact, but I'll keep it on the table. So, I would have never agreed to come into this trauma place. And how do you explain a young person being abused, Matt, and all that? I'm not. Maybe that whatever's on the news, that horrific thing on the news, maybe is not the same spiritual being. I'm not saying somebody chose that in some torture den, and in West Philadelphia or something. But maybe that there's different types of entities here. There's a lot of possibilities, guys. So let's not stray too much. It's here to distract. To me, it's playing its role. It's not bigger than its reality. It was put here as a worker, just as a worker. Remember that cartoon, the sheepdog and the wolf? Morning, Sam, punch a time clock. Morning, Red, punch a time card. That's what the not milk is to me. That's what they would maybe not even know what I'm talking about. Jared Kushner might come up here. Not a good time, Czar. Not a good time. I'm sorry. Can you get down, please? Jared Kushner might come up here. He might be more attached to what we call these sequentials, and he might come up here and say, look at this. He's showing me this video of this Matt guy, this jerk. Look at this conspiracy retread. That doesn't mean I'd be wrong, even though as a sequential, he might know more about how this reality works. I still think the highest level, we don't know the highest level, but we can ponder it. We can try to think big. He might, because they know so much, they may be blind to what's actually happening. Sometimes if you know too much or privy to too many things, you may get complacent or overconfident. And maybe a lot of them are like that. So it's here to distract, here to keep you from understanding what you truly are. And one thing to keep on the table is the distraction was put here by us or by your God or whatever, because we simply needed to forget who we truly are for a time being. Or even if it's 1,000 lifetimes, if you're a timeless being, that's nothing. That's nothing. Sounds so 1,000 lifetimes and stings 1,000 years, 1,000 more. I hope everybody was able to load the free voice video. Okay, waited that 10 or 15 seconds. It's just Roma. You work all this time to get this video, and you load this, and you do the graphic, and then it's like. And I've tried it before. If I do it all over again, it could get more screwed up. So hopefully, it seemed like everybody was able to see it after 10 or 15 seconds. So it is possible, guys, that its distraction is like we always, whenever we have these conversations, they're more along the lines of it's trying to get something from us that we don't want to give up. It's trying to distract me. It's the no consequences versus consequences debate. What are the spiritual consequences of a false life of distraction where we're fooled and on the ship of fools for our entire lives? But if it is potentially all as it's designed, or as it was designed potentially by us, I'm saying we signed up here. Maybe I'm just keeping this on the table. I don't know. I can't give you a percentage of what I believe. Just keeping this on the table. We potentially signed up to be distracted, to forget what we truly are. And some people might say, "Well, Matt, then we're almost breaking the rules. We're supposed to come here and be total jack-offs and forget and watch the Eagles game." And I went to bed, but would it go until after midnight? And we're supposed to do that stupid stuff and just completely forget and chase nonsense, chase the hard-on, and do all the stupid stuff. And that is legitimate in a very high-level belief set. That doesn't mean that the no consequences people, some of them might go too far and put on the Jay-Z T-shirt, "Do what thou wilt," the Satanist slogan of "Do what thou wilt." And I don't think it's good to go too far in any extreme. That's not for me. I'm not ordering the Antoine LaVey books on Amazon, but it's not the same thing, is what I'm saying. The Jay-Z, those jack-offs, the "Do what thou wilt." It's not the same as saying, many smart people think we agreed to come here to be fooled. So we're kind of breaking the rules. But maybe that's not so bad either, because when you become a certain level of advanced for this low form that we're here, this low level form, this low level form, when you start to question and start to, push back on everything that we're pushing back on, maybe that means it's time where we've had enough of the distraction. We don't want any more of this. We want to go back to what we were or where we came from. And I've gotten Joe from Mexico, avocados from Mexico. Joe from Mexico. First off, Joe, you gotta let me catch up on your emails. I mean, just one. I mean, they're long, and they're. I mean, Joe has remembers past lives. Joe remembers what happened between lives. The astral green room. Okay, but Joe, I can't keep up, dude. You gotta make shorter emails, and you gotta let me catch up. I can't keep up. But there, I don't want to. I want to make sure I get to them, because it's, how many people do we know that remember past lives and remember the astral green room? But Joe, what we're talking about here, I mean, your expertise is remembering these experiences, how many back, or where you were in what many would consider the astral between incarnations, or waiting to incarnate again. But you do kind of push back on me for having these general conversations. But again, you were just, we're here, and you were just right 1/2 millimeter above, waiting to reincarnate again. We're having, conversations about who we are from source. I mean, this is, so in other words, I don't think, even though you have that level of expertise, I'm not sure you would be on a different footing than me in terms of having this conversation, because it's so trillions of miles beyond what even you experienced. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, it just, people don't want to hear that. Most people here would rather put forth the notion and believe that there's a bad guy here, and our job is to overcome it and to win, and not to just, the distraction itself is not the end all, is not the end itself is the distraction. The reason for being could be the reason for being in and of itself, for incarnating here, could be the distraction to forget what we were. And I don't think we were a brain in a jar, but that's just a way of putting something. We just think, of course, like I said a few minutes ago, but it's fun to talk about. Oh, what we were spiritually is so beautiful. It was the equivalent of rolling hills and everything, perfect weather. I mean, you can only put it in material terms. How else? That's all we know here. What else am I supposed to do? I can only put it in the hills are alive with the sound of music terms. I don't know how else am I describe it. So I have to describe material. Everything was perfect. Your pets were perfect. And Matt, we would have never. How do you know? That's the thing. We don't know what it was like. Could have been boring as shit. Said, I got to go back to Earth again, man. I can't take this shit. It is possible, folks, and there's a lot of smart people that believe that. But again, if there's this isn't all this. If we need to be distracted, and we're a brain in a jar or a spirit floating around, and it's not very fun or boring, or all knowing is boring, whatever, then you would think, okay, well, if we or your God can make this material reality, then they can make others that are a lot better, where you potentially would want to be there, and not back to your spiritual self. So why would we assume, it would be really short-sighted to assume that this is the one material option that exists, this is it. Like you go up to, when we were kids, go up to Wonderland in Ocean City, New Jersey at 6th Street. And there's just one ride, that friggin' Scrambler. The Scrambler, that's all there is. It's all empty. So that's all there is, Earth. It's all empty. Maybe there's thousands of places to go and things to do. And you have to, if you're going to go do all this stuff, you got to go through Earth at least once or twice or whatever your belief is. You got to do that. Guys, there's no question. This is pretty hardcore. I mean, this is pretty hard. Not just physically, the emotional trauma. I mean, would the Buddhists say there were lower hells than this? And maybe there are. Maybe there are. But this isn't the hell realm that a lot of the truthers scream about. There's a lot of. I'm looking out the window right now, and it's cold as shit. But the wind is down at zero, and it's crystal clear blue. There's a lot of beauty here, and a lot of beauty that will never be able for them to be taken away. even if they're trying to take it away. The rules here are bigger than the creeps. The rules here are what it was designed for are bigger than the minions and the creeps and the not milk. But a lot of truthers think that that's the highest level. like these idiots, these jackoffs created the reality. Look at them, Lady Gaga and Christine Lagarde and Santa Claus. They're clowns. They're clowns. They're not. Well, they serve the power. Well, they would be a reflection of what they serve. Look at the Joker. Remember the first scene with Heath Ledger as the Joker? There were other Jokers running around stealing from the bank or whatever. There wasn't men in business suits that looked like George Clooney that were very professional. It was all a bunch of clowns that were running. So George Bush has to be a reflection of his master, right? Or Bill Clinton has to be a reflection of his master to some degree. So if you think that entity hijacked this reality and are keeping you here, and it's a soul trap, and come on, sir, it's ridiculous. It's freaking ridiculous. Even if we were in prison, even if we were wrong about that, like Andy Dufresne, there ain't no time limit. I mean, we got a lot of. I mean, we're not trapped, or there's no prison planet. Again, what I said earlier is just the opposite of that. That the brain in the jar. It's not too exciting over here. We need to go in here to do whatever, and to maybe even to have the appreciation of what we experienced before. So let me make sure this is recording. Sat here for a few minutes thinking about some things and looked up, and it's so bright outside now you can barely see me. Well, I guess you can, but boy, crazy. Even though it's really, really cold, like I said. Okay. Guys, I don't mean to be so, if this sounded a little negative, there's no reason to be negative. Maybe, we don't know what's going on here. Maybe if you want to experience material realities, maybe beating the trick is part of what you need to put on your report card to move on. Maybe there's another place of thousands, millions of others that are like the happy hunting grounds. It's much more beautiful. There is no trauma. There is no stress. Maybe we're allowed to go and enjoy those places. Maybe you have to beat this game. It's possible. In terms of seeing through its trick, we've beaten it. I have stressed for years that part 2 and now part 3, the end, is more important. Part 3, the end, being part 2, the work, the spiritual work, once you leave the distraction behind. Part 3, meaning, are you finished? Are you truly confident that you are ready to get the heck out of here? And Joe was emailing me saying, Matt, you guys can say with confidence all you want. He believes it's beyond us and it's not our decision. And Tony would tend to disagree with that. But anyway, I'm not bowing down before everything Tony said or everything Joe said. There's a lot of, Joe, you have incredible insight, but I've been at the center of this for almost 16 years, 15 or 16 years. And there's a lot of people, I've come across hundreds and hundreds that have insights similar to yours that would, to a degree, disagree. So it's not, again, there's no, this is the way this reality is. Nobody has all the answers. We just put the pieces together the best we can to understand. We have a longing to understand what the heck is going on here. So maybe, we've beaten step 1, part 1, the trick. We've beaten it. It's so ridiculous at this point. We can't understand why everybody hasn't beaten it. It's so absurd what it presents through its news or through its presidents. But anyway, that's not going to change. Those in the ship of fools will remain on the ship of fools for the remainder of their lives. Part 2, part 3, the end. Meaning, are we ready to be? We're done with this. Are we done with this earthly place? But on a more positive note, if we agreed to come in here and be distracted from what we were because it was boring or whatever, then maybe we have to beat this trick. And there's there's a lot of other places to go that are even what you call material realms. Why would we assume this is it? Give me a break. Whoever created this, your God or whatever, whoever created this would have the ability to create hundreds or thousands or millions more. And maybe they're very nice just because they're material. They might be great places. So, keep it on the table. Guys, what did I want to say? Although in terms of getting back to, I talked about in the beginning, talking about some of the reality basics, and then we got into, a half hour on the distraction, which is really the most important part, and I'm glad we did. But in terms of the reality basics, There's no point in me saying, let's talk about what the moon is, what they say it is, and what it's not. This is a waste of time. What the sun is, and what I threw out in a video, not just a couple of videos back, that the man on the street or the woman on the street would say the sun is billions of tons of burning hydrogen and helium. And the person thought that's what I believe. the person thought that's what I think the sun is. That's what the person on the street would say. People put these words in them. Just go back and listen to my words carefully. I'm typically pretty easy to understand compared to most. That's why a lot of people are here. I talk about ways because I'm not capable. I'm too stupid to talk about anything in a way that doesn't make sense to the people listening. I ain't smart enough to talk about it in a way that would just that would go over your head, because I can't go over my own head. Does that make any sense? So the purpose of when we say let's get to the basics of this reality, not to say the moon is false. We know that stuff. Anything that if science says the moon is this, then we simply just apply the same what? Not the rule of opposites, of course. Not that it means it's the opposite, but it's just not what they say. It's a rock. See, Matt, Mars collided with Earth billions. That's what they say happened billions of years ago, and all these little freaking pieces formed the moon. Well, where's the center of mass that brought all the pieces together? And when the pieces were brought together, how was it brought together in a perfect sphere? Wouldn't it, if it came together and there was a center of mass, wouldn't it come together like a Chernobyl potato? End up looking like a Chernobyl potato with one side growing a head and one side growing an arm. It's a perfect sphere. It's ridiculous. It's impossible. But, again, I've said it is incredible how people can't see it. I told you, I said one of my relatives recently, I said, the moon, the outside, the luminosity, if that's even the right word, the brightness on the outside is the same as the center. That's consistent. That's impossible. You can't have, like, if you shine a flashlight at a basketball, you have a hot spot. The part that's flattest, the flattest, that would reflect back. The sides would reflect out, especially from a cat litter box. The sides would be all dark and dim. This is impossible. It's just so easy to see. It's incredible how everybody can't see this. But guys, so the point is not to say, I'm here to tell you, let's go over the basics of truth. The moon is not what they say. Well, Pootie Tang Award. Yeah, the point is to not even focus on the specific conspiracies or details. Matt, you're going to end with this again? Yeah, here come Lucy and the Chocolate Factory. Here come all the conspiracies. The point is that everything isn't what it seems. You just broad brush. Apply everything is not what science says or what authority says. There's no reason to look at specific conspiracy. So if this is your specific conspiracy and you're looking at all this, you're just being fooled like everybody else. Start talking about reality as a whole. We don't get it right, but at least we're doing that. That's the only thing that can be done at this point. When all that's left to do is reflect on what's been done. This is where madness breathes. The beginning of live throwing copper. That's all you can do at this point. I mean, because how could we be where we are after doing this? I mean, most of us kind of got into this at the same time because of what started to play out 2007, 8, 9, etc. regarding the 2001, man, is that getting bright, 2001 job application. And someone's like bitching about curtains. Man, you got to get the curtains. You threw away your curtains. Nobody, somebody will ship me curtains like that. No, I'm not putting no curtains up. No, absolutely not. Sorry. So 7-Eleven job application, most of us started to come around, 2007, 8, 9. Okay, so we all were going through a similar process here. Of course, there were a few of us, like Greg, that saw the fraud of the 2001 job application the very moments it was happening, and he said to his classmate, like I told you, see that? That can't happen. That's rare. We're all kind of going through this at the same time. And for years, we were stuck on our same little conspiracies. For me, it was the mall events and the fake cake in a lake bang events and the stuff that, Chuck again and again has this list of every single impossible mall event and school event and presentation where at some point for me, at least, the list got too long where I said, there's no real world could do that. Once you get past the Connecticut movie filmed in Connecticut, Captain Hook, and a few others, and there was Umpqua, and then there was Ohio State. Once you go through 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 major ones, where the first responders would have to be in on it, and the hospital would have to be in on it, and the doctors would have to be in on it, and the police and the sheriff's department would have to be in on it, and the FBI would have to be in on it. Once you get past a few, you say there's just no way that this can be coordinated. This is a false reality. How does that work? Well, I will never assume that all those different departments and agencies and people that participate in those agencies or employees are the same as you, the same spiritual being. They could be completely on the download. They could be NPCs. They could be programmable matter. We don't know what they are. Those people, those groups of ridiculous groups walking up and down in the movie that was filmed in Connecticut, Captain Hook, between the firehouse and the school, just hundreds and hundreds of them walking back and forth. And we don't know what they are or why they act out. Don't assume they're the same as you. I'm not going to assume they're the same as me. So I'm not going to try to put it in between my reality bookends. So they're paid and threatened. And Matt, they know what's going on. They know to stay quiet. Come on. After hundreds and hundreds, and that's leaving out all the thousands and tens of thousands of conspiracies over here that it's pulling off. So that was my point, is that was my path to truth in through the fake events and this, and of course, and we all go through NASA, and then we go through what really happened or didn't happen. But again, it's incredible. Most truth researchers are kind of not where we are. It sounds arrogant. Oh, where you are, Matt's the highest. Okay, but you have to get to a point where you say reality itself is not what it seems. That's the only thing that makes sense at this point. And I mean, we're not, and we've been there for 7 years. So again, the last thing to do is, okay, what is it want from me? And if it wants something from me, then I'm here to likely beat its trick or to do something for myself, to take advantage. And, that's the way I interpret it. That's why I talk about part 2, the work, part 3, the end. To the no consequences people, it's more like what I talked about earlier, that we're a timeless being, and we just, for whatever reason, just stepped into this reality to forget who we were, to get away. Southwest Airlines want to get away, just to get away from the brain in the jar or whatever we were, stepped away to forget, and the no consequences people. And there's merit to it, of course, that Matt, nothing can happen to you. You could fall for every bit of the trick. You could be on the ship of fools lifetime after lifetime. There's nothing you could, Matt, you could make the absolute wrong choices. This is what the no consequences people would say. Matt, you could ask for a Jay-Z Satanist do what thou wilt t-shirt. I had to start that segment over for a few reasons. So the no consequences, even if you make those horrible decisions and actually buy Jay-Z and Beyonce albums, you do everything wrong, or you send away for your Antoine LaVey books and all that stuff. You do everything wrong. No consequences. People are like, you're timeless being. Nothing can harm you, Matt. And they got on me for years. Matt, stop talking about giving away soul tokens. That's not how it works. You can't give your essence away here. Although some would say, you produce so much energy, so much essence. There are entities here, whatever, that feed from it, but you're an endless supply of it, so they feed from it. Like if you give blood at the blood drive, a day later, your blood's replenished. You can't give the essence of yourself away, Matt, even if there are things here, egregores or whatever, that take loosh or feed from your energy. You can be tricked, and many no consequences people might say. Those that are completely tricked, they feed it a lot of energy. But they're not giving aspects of themselves away. Their light isn't going down and potentially petering out or being extinguished. No, Matt. And you could be, you guys all, no consequences people would say, you all look down on the fooled, and you got your little names for them, the ship of fools, and they're the same spiritual beings you are. They're fooled, and there's no consequence. They're not losing or anything like that. They came here just to get away. Southwest Airlines want to get away from being the brain in a jar. And these people are smart people. They might have it all right. It's possible. Either way, as usual, it ends up being good news, even though some of this is kind of dark, and it ends up being good news. That in terms of the things we talked about here, how many things lined up with Prison Planet? You're screwed. There's masters here that control your destiny. The light trap trick is almost impossible to beat unless you can crawl through and find Wes Penray's grid. The archonic beings are more powerful than you. How much of what we just talked about here, much of which probably resonated with your inner knowing, how much lines up with Prison Planet Soul Trap? Very little. Very, 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 not much. Not so it might be, again, more lined up with what, we agreed to come here for whatever reason, brain in a jar, maybe we were bored, whatever it may be, but not trapped, or there's masters here where we're small, and it's just, come on, man. It's just, there's no evidence of that. And evidence is really not even important in these types of discussions. It's inner knowing. Is what does your heart tell you, Jerry Maguire? They fired him at Cronin's. What does your heart tell you, Jerry Maguire? What does your inner knowing tell you in terms of what was just talked about? That it was all bullshit, and this is a prison planet, and we're fucked. We're screwed. We're screwed. Oh, the archonic being. Get me the fuck out of here, please. Oh, you master. I'm the little guy. You the master. I'm just a little guy. Can you please get me the hell out of here? Come on, man. Come on. And we don't have to figure it out. I think we should just do the basics. Part 1, the trick. I'm not going to engage in the trick. I'm not going to go to see what Trump is going to do to Venezuela next. But disengaging from the trick is generally good advice, no matter what you believe, of course. We're not going to... Somebody's saying to me, Matt, I wasn't really dying to get back and involved in the trick. Anyway, we've left that behind. And part 2, the work is important. We're here for a reason. There's whether you put yourself here or God put you here, you're here for a reason. And reasons that have to do with what you need to do for yourself. What about yourself? You have to do certain things here. Okay, if you also have to worship your God or whatever, then you worship your God. You put your incense out, whatever. But you also have to. You're here for yourself as well. I mean, I think your God would agree with that. So what is that? Part 2, the work. And are you truly done with this? Part 3, the end. Are you done? Anyway, guys, I hope that was somewhat interesting for the old guard. But I've seen some of the comments here, guys. Some people are lost. They really need. There's a certain segment here that just, I don't know. It's new people, or they just never get out of 7th grade truth. I don't know. We got to do this once every 2 weeks, guys. All right. Thanks.